Hey, music community, Jeff here again. And I have got a, I don't know how long I'll do this. This is just an idea that I thought this would be a good way to stimulate making videos. There's always ideas. And of course, I've started things like my top certain ones from years. I still got to return to that. I'm up to 91. But there's always ideas. You see other people do, and you're like, oh, that would be cool to do. So it wasn't started as a thread, but I made it into an idea, and I told him, hey, I'm going to steal this idea because it's just kind of a cool way to think of a way to approach showing records from my collection that are not just new stuff that came in. So I took this from Rick over at Rick and Records. If you don't follow him, check him out. He's been in and out of the VC with different channel names, and so his current channel, Rick and Records, he's up to like 120 subscribers. So check him out. Very much similar to me, 80s metal friend guy. He has a lot of stuff too, but that's kind of the bulk of what he does. And so he did this thing called the Perfect 10. And what he's done is he basically just took the 10th album from his every 10th album from his collection. We just did 10, which is the first 100 albums. I noticed that one thing I did notice in doing this is that each one of those, I've never counted how many goes in each one of those cubicles, but to get through the first 10, the first 100 albums was 2 cubicles. And this is just from the section, which is my main section, which is going to be the mostly hard rock and metal type stuff. Anyway, that's what it is. He called it the Perfect 10. I'm calling it the Perfect 10 because it's just kind of a cool name. And it's the 10th album, every 10th album from the collection. And just talk about it for a brief second. I pulled them I pulled them from the side, didn't really look at them. So I'm off the cuff here. The first album, 10th album, Staying Alive by Accept. I have a lot of the more recent Accept because they were reissuing them. Music on Vinyl was reissuing them. I think I've got a good majority of the Accept stuff. Anyway, a live album, great live album. I saw them live back in the Metal Heart tour. Great stuff. So there you go. Accept, just amazing metal band starting from the 70s, you know, and came right into it. So this is actually fairly new, a fairly new acquisition, the Accuser series of vinyl reissues that have been coming out on Brutal Planet Records. I've shown them because they've recently come in the past so many months. I don't know, last 6 months or so, they've been reissuing. I don't know how many I got, 5 or 6 Accuser albums. So anyway, yeah, they are fairly new to me. I didn't pay much attention to them. They're kind of a thrash band from the 80s, German metal, German thrash. They've done a lot of stuff, and then they, you know, took a break and came back. And anyway, so they've got a sporadic history there. But Brutal Planet Records started in the middle, like in the 90s, late 90s, and started releasing stuff on either side of that, kind of going backwards and forwards. So there we go. One of the recent things that I showed, which I still have over there on my rack there, is the CDs. I went ahead and bought the CDs because they said they probably wouldn't put those on vinyl, and that was like the first couple albums and EPs all in a box set. So, but this is one of the albums that came out on Brutal Planet Records, so got that. Number 3 is AC/DC, Back in Black. I understand this is probably the most biggest selling metal record ever, one of their biggest hits. This is, of course, the first one when Brian Johnson came in, the big change after Bon Scott. It's got all the hits, and so I still have a hard time getting guys in my band to want to play the Brian Johnson era. They tend to always want to lean more towards the Bon Scott era, but you know, I cut my teeth on the on this album when this is around when I discovered him. I didn't, you know, I heard stuff on the radio back in the day, but I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the Bon Scott years. I didn't discover him until later in life. All right, up number 10, another number 10, Alcatrazz. Yeah, so Alcatrazz, we know, started off with, you know, had Yngwie Malmsteen, they had Steve Vai, they went through a whole thing. Graham Bonnet, lead singer. It was a great band back in the day, and so I need some more Alcatrazz. This may be the only Alcatrazz I have, now that I think about it. And this would have been the the Malmsteen days, and yeah. So yeah, there you go, Alcatrazz. All right, Angel. The other day, my wife was helping me. We were at the record store down in the Outer Banks, and she was looking through some stuff, and she's like, she kind of has an idea what to, you know, she knows the surface level stuff that I would probably enjoy, things that have hair. So she found an Angel album. It wasn't this one, but she said, hey, do you need this? And I'm like, actually, you know, I like Angel, but I have all the Angel albums except the live album, which is the only one I don't have on vinyl. And the brand new album that just came out, I do not have that. So, but I do have all the rest of them. Not all of them in the greatest condition, so if it was in a greater condition, I probably should have checked it out, but I didn't know the condition of mine at home. But there you go, Angel, band from the 70s. They were, you know, on the same, pushing by the same management and everything that Kiss was doing. They were doing, you know, supposed to have a big stage show and disappearing this and all dressed in white. And anyway, never made it huge, but they put a definite mark on the rock world. And of course, Greg Giuffria, the keyboard player, went on to do Giuffria, did some stuff there, went on to do House of Lords. He went on to do a lot of great things too. But yeah, Angel's where it all started in the 70s. All right, up next, Anthem, Cutting Through. This is just the original Cutting Through. They later went back and kind of like remixed it and tweaked it a little bit and released it as Cutting Through 2. But I don't think that was ever on vinyl. This is Cutting Through. Where are they from? I know the label is Toonsmith and is from Canada. I don't recall if the band is from Canada, but they are a female-led early 80s. I think they're early 80s. I don't think this is 70s. I think this was early 80s, and I cannot read this in this light. Female-fronted Christian hard rock band. So there you go, Anthem. I believe, really, aside from this and the reissue of with Cutting Through 2, I'm not sure if they've got any other releases beyond that. Okay, up next, Raising Fear by Armored Saint. Discovered Armored Saint when their EP came out. I remember seeing them in metal magazines back in the days in the 80s when I was still in high school. Loved the outfits. They had the cool looking like chainmailish type armor, leather armor with rings and stuff on it. Looked really cool. Loved it, how they did imagery and stuff back then. And so I ordered their EP, which is just, I believe it was just a 3-song EP. Nowadays it's 4. There's a 5th song out there too, and some trickling around. I think it was 3 or 4 songs, and I just fell in love with that. It was just the 80s. It was a great stuff. And then their first album hit. I remember that hit when I was in tech school in the Air Force, and absolutely still to this day, just an all-around perfect album in my mind. Just everything about that first Armored Saint album. This is a little later, second, third. Anyway, they still great stuff, and they still, you know, have occasional releases even to this day. And then the next 10 here is Avantasia. This one I showed not too terribly long ago because it's a fairly new acquisition. The only one I have by Avantasia, all-star group type thing. It's Tobias puts together, gets all kinds of guest musicians, and every album is like this big smorgasbord of amazing talent. I discovered them way early on when Rob Rock sang on the first couple albums, and that's what got me hooked because I was a Rob Rock fan, so I followed into that. Anyway, this is one of the most recent albums. It's just great stuff. Power metal, melodic metal, lots of different musicians and great stuff there. Next 10 is Banshee the Madness. This is a fairly recent reissue on vinyl. I was not much of a Banshee knowledge of any of their stuff from when they got around in the 80s and went on. They took a break, came back, put some stuff out, and so. But I have fallen in love with them ever since No Life Till Metal, Scott Waters and all them got involved in reissuing their stuff, and have picked up everything that I've could get my hands on. And yeah, I really dig them. They are just right there in that metal pocket, which is not too aggressive, not too light, just metal. I don't know how to describe it. Just great stuff. Check them out. And then the last 10 is BarrenCross. This is the second BarrenCross album, Atomic Arena. BarrenCross, of course, is one of the premier, back in the day, became one of the premier Christian metal bands. The singer, Mike Lee, sounds a lot like Bruce Dickinson. They've always got a comparison to that. I later became in communication with Mike Lee. Used to do his website back in the day before websites for dummies became easy, as far as, you know, the ability to do it yourself, the Wix type sites. And so he basically took it over. But after he had moved back from when he was living in France for many years, when he moved back, I had assumed the responsibility for his website for many years. So yeah, anyway, Mike celebrated his birthday that day. But that's Mike Lee's band, BarrenCross. And they have they occasionally pop up here and there and do shows. And Mike Lee's still very active, but he's just getting ready to release a new album with Human Code. And so he was talking about that on Facebook the other day. Great stuff. BarrenCross, love them. Would love to see a new BarrenCross album, but you know, I think that ship has sailed. But anyway, great stuff. And there you go, the perfect 10. 10 albums, every 10th album in my collection through the first 100. So this is batch 1. I maybe will resume this and do another batch later on, but that's it for now. I don't want to go too long with this. Thanks for watching. Check out Rick. He does this too, and he's about to finish his section and go into other sections other than rock. And I will see you later. Rock on and rock hard.